So tonight's book blog is going to be thriller and horror recommendations and why I'm recommending them, what I liked about the book, um, all that. So I have 13 for you tonight. And I'm just gonna go top to bottom, set them off to the side when I'm done with them, and just kind of get into it. So the first one I have is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. I just learned that Riley Sager is a pseudonym. That's not his actual name. So if there's other authors out there that are super popular in the thriller community that write under a pseudonym, let me know because that took me by surprise. This is the second Riley Sager book I read and my second favorite. I did really enjoy this book. I believe I gave it a 3.5 or 4 star. I rated it lower. I want to say I gave it 3.5 star. I rated it that because I did predict the ending, but I don't think that took away from the story, and I know people who did not predict the ending. So I really liked it. My favorite book of his is The Only One Left, The Last One Left, The Only One Left. I'm borrowing it to my stepmom so she can read it and love it. Otherwise, I would hold that one up. But Survive the Night is a good second. And this was actually gifted to me by KJ, who is booked by Kirby on Instagram. She got that for me for my birthday last year. The next book I'm going to recommend is Mother-Daughter Murder Night by Nina Simon. This book was so fun. This is like less super thrillery and more cozy mystery almost. If you kind of want to dip your toes into the thriller genre and don't really know where to start, I think this would be a good one. It's not too heavy. It's not too like plot focused. There is a lot of like little side adventures. It's a grandma, a mom, and the daughter. They have an interesting dynamic, the three of them, and they're all living together, and they see someone, well, not see someone, but they, someone who's murdered turns up, okay? So they're trying to like piece together what happens. They're a little nosy. They're just going through their lives. I did start annotating this book and then I stopped. We read it for my book club. But anyways, I really liked it. I think I gave it 4 or 4.5 star. I wouldn't say this is like an all-time favorite thriller, but if you are just getting started, like I said, this is a great one to check out. The next book is so controversial. Another book club pick. I really liked it because I liked the quirky, unhinged Twilight vibes. And that's Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. And I feel like this is a book that you either love or you hate it, and there's not a lot of in between. Like, I didn't see a ton of people on Bookstagram being like, it was all right. It was either like, loved it, hated it. I fell in the loved it category. No hate if you didn't like it. I can totally see why someone wouldn't like it, but basically the main character lives, I want to say it's Louisiana, deep south, super religious family. Her dad is a minister. There's a lot of religious trauma and abuse that happens in this book. And then there is also like some murders in there. She's engaged. There's a best friend. It's a love triangle. She thinks her best friend is this potentially vampire myth person, but you'll have to read it to find out what's going on. The next book I have is one that I didn't super love when I first read it, but I think if I read it again, I would like it more. And that's Daughters of the Lake by Wendy Webb. The reason I didn't like it is because there was a tiny little storyline a cheating trope, if you will. And I don't like cheating tropes. I just think they're dumb. I don't think books need them. And at the time I had read this, I had read like literally 2 romance books that had cheating tropes in it. So I think maybe I was just overdone on that. And that totally could have been left out of this book, and the book would have been fine without it. Like, it was no impact to the storyline. It was just like there, and then it was done. I don't know, kind of dumb. And then the other thing that I did not care for about this book at the time was that it is a little supernatural. And we read this so long ago, I honestly don't remember a ton about it. But when I look back on other books that I've read in the thriller and horror genre, I've slowly started to like a little bit more supernatural type themes and tropes. And so I think if I reread this, I would like it more. And I do have another book by Wendy Webb called The Haunting of Bryn Wilder. Sorry, I had to look at my bookcase. That I do want to read. So may reread this one, may not, but I did keep it just in case, because when I was doing my unhaul, I realized maybe I didn't like it for reasons of like my own, like the timing of it, I guess. The next book I'm going to talk about is what some would consider horror, and that is My Darling Girl by Jennifer McMahon. I guess I don't know how to talk about this because it, I guess, is classified as horror, but it's a little more like literary, family drama. The, husband and wife have 2 daughters. The wife's mother gets cancer and asks to come live with them. She abused the wife, or the mom. The grandma abused the mom when she was a kid, and you basically go through this book and find out why she was abused, and there is like a demon in there. That's not a spoiler. That's like basically what the whole book is about, but it's a little bit more about the family and a little bit less scary demon possession. When I read this, I was just like grasping and reaching for more demon content. So I guess I would consider this maybe a little bit lighter on the horror spectrum. But that's for you to decide for yourself. Yeah, I think I gave that 4 stars just because, again, I predicted the ending. Maybe I gave it 3.5. Either 3.5 or 4. I did predict the ending, and I did want more scariness out of it. The next book I am talking about is probably the first thriller I read when I started reading again, and it was the very first pick for my book club that I host, and that is The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth. I rated this 5 stars. Absolutely obsessed with this book. I loved the characters. I loved to hate the characters. I think Sally Hepworth did a really good job of writing these characters. And they are characters that not everybody is going to like. And I think that some people don't like books with unlikable characters because the characters are unlikable. But I think that if an author can write a book where you're like, wow, F that person, I do not like them, and they do it well, I love that. I love to hate a character. And I'm like not a hateful person. Like, I get a little grumpy and grouchy, whatever, but I don't really hate people. But if there's a book character that I'm like, oh, you're just, love that. I felt that a little bit with this one. She has a new release coming out, My Darling Girls. I'm going to the release launch for her USA tour here in Minneapolis. So I'm really excited. I'm going to bring this with and get it signed because I would love to have Miss Sally's signature. I'm not even going to try and flip to that page. I would love to have Miss Sally's signature on here. So, loved The Soulmate. Every, like, literally 20 to 30 pages, twist, turn. You're thinking about something new. You think something's going to happen, and it doesn't. It's fucked up. and I love it. Super short chapters as well. The next book I have, I don't really know if you would classify it as thriller or horror. I think it can fall in between. And I say thriller because there's that like thrilling, like chasing the high of a book aspect. I say horror because there's a lot of like dark and heavy themes and some violence in this book, and as well as the author's other books. And that's Razorblade Tears. This is the first S.A. Cosby book I read, and I gave this an immediate 5 stars. Like, literally the whole time I was reading this book, I was like, this is a 5-star book. Front to back cover, amazing. I think S.A. Cosby could never do me wrong. I also have Blacktop Wasteland that I have yet to read. This was gifted to me. And then I also have All the Sinners Bleed, which I read and I loved. I gave that one 5 stars as well, I believe. But seriously, S.A. Cosby just writes amazing books. He is a BIPOC author, and he just, the way he writes about his characters is just like truly grasping. And I find myself really emotionally connected to S.A. Cosby's books. So yeah, Razorblade Tears, definitely my favorite. What's it? All the Sinners Bleed. Very close second. And then I've heard amazing things about Blacktop Wasteland as well. So I'm going to get to that hopefully sooner rather than later, but I'm in a major book slump that I have pretty much been in all of March, and I don't know how the heck to get out of it. The next book, also maybe a touch controversial, and that is Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulic. I don't know. Jason R. This book, if you read it, please read the physical copy, because as you can see, there's, hold on, let me see. Oh, there's pictures in it. And I don't think that you would get the full effect if you read it audibly or listened to it. But anyways, this is a girl. She is a recovering alcoholic. She's young, she's college aged, and she's looking for a job, and her AA sponsor sets her up as a nanny for a family that he knows, who is willing to give a young girl who's had a rough start to life a second chance. Love to see it. Anyways, she discovers that the little boy she is nannying is drawing these creepy ass pictures. And okay, it starts out all cute, right? Maybe it doesn't. Oh yeah, it starts out cute. Okay, here's a little billy goat. But then, bam, creepy as fuck. Look at that. Okay? And it just gets worse and worse. In terms of like the spookiness level of the paintings. I'm not going to show you too many more because I don't want to ruin it. But like, that's creepy. And also I want to know who drew this in here. Like, props to them. I loved the pictures. I loved the story. I love how it unfolded. It was pretty unhinged, supernatural. So when I was talking about Daughters of the Lake earlier, and I was saying I didn't like the supernatural aspect, and then I read Hidden Pictures a few months after that, and I did like the supernatural aspect. So I think that's why I was saying I want to give Daughters of the Lake another try. Also, Daughters of the Lake is based on a tiny Wisconsin town way up north called Bayfield. And I went to college just about 20 minutes from Bayfield. And so when I read this book, I was like, wow, this reminds me of that place. And this is like vaguely Bayfield-esque. And then in the Q&A that the author has in the back of the book and in the acknowledgments, she literally says, oh yeah, I based this book off of Bayfield, Wisconsin. Love that. Okay, we're moving on. I think I rated this 4.5 stars. The next book I have is a Minnesota author. She is one of my favorite authors. She's an auto buy, hands down, every single time. Her books are also on Kindle Unlimited, and that is Jess Lowry. My favorite being The Quarry Girls. Oh, this book will mess you up. So the main characters are teenagers. They're maybe 16, 17 years old. People go missing. There's, this group of friends. There's this outsider from out of town. Is he a murderer? I don't know. But anyways, it feels so Minnesotan, and that's why I love it so much. Jill, if you're watching this, bag. So anyways, loved this book. It just hits home. There's a girl in my book club the mom and the daughter are in the book club, and the mom remembers this case. So based on true events, but this is really good. It's very atmospheric, very vibey, very nature driven. But the thriller itself, and the storyline is really good. There's a girl who journals, and they're like reading through her journal, and then there's like pictures, and like police are involved. It's great. I gave this 5 stars. That was an easy 5-star for me. The next book I'm going to show is my second favorite of this author. All right, the author is Lisa Jewell. My first favorite is None of This Is True. My stepmom has that book as well, so I do not have it to hold up. And if you like podcasts, true crime, unhinged shit, creepy stalker vibes, you will love None of This Is True. But the one I have to show you is Girls in the Garden by Lisa Jewell. So Lisa is from the UK, and so all her books are set in the UK. So when I read this one, I think this was the first one I read by her. When I read this, I was like, oh, interesting, like all these UK phrases, that's really cool. But then it just kind of like makes the story so much better, in my opinion, as an American. But anyways, Lisa Jewell just knows how to tell a story. Like her books, you might guess the ending. I never guess the ending of a Lisa Jewell book. Never, not once. I think I've read 4 now of her books, and I will literally never stop reading Lisa Jewell. She could become a murderer herself, and I would still read her books. There's things that I would choose not to read her books over, but I don't see that happening. She's an amazing human. I attended her book signing event. So fun, so genuine, so funny. She's releasing a Jessica Jones novel for the Marvel Universe. Oh my gosh. Oh, and S.A. Cosby. It's on the bottom. S.A. Cosby is writing a Luke Cage Marvel book. It doesn't get any better than that. 2 amazing authors I love, both auto buys, both writing Marvel books. I cannot wait. All right, I have 3 more books for you, 2 horrors and 1 thriller. The last thriller was like probably my favorite thriller of 2023. But let's get into the 2 horrors really quick. And the first is Fantastic Land by Mike Bakoven. Oh my gosh, this is so freaking good. If you like amusement parks, if you like body horror, if you like slasher novels, you will eat this up. I just saw my reflection in the window and I thought someone was walking up our driveway. I read too many scary things, and then I looked and I was like, it's just me. Okay, moving on. So this is set in Florida at an amusement park. Every single chapter is a different person who is in the amusement park while this is happening. So it's The place is called Fantasticland. There's a hurricane. The weather is coming in and people are fleeing the park or they're getting stuck. And this takes you through the nights of the people being trapped in the park. It's super fucked up. And I was reading it and I was like, give me more gore, give me more body horror, give me more slasher. It's still pretty heavy. I got this book off of a recommendation from my friend Allie, and then before I even read it, I was recommending it to people because it just sounded so good, and it was. I ate this shit up. All right. Last horror is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Oh my gosh, this is a novella. This is based off the fall of the House of Usher, okay? It's a modern retelling, and this is heavy on the body horror. So if you don't like gross bodily functions, bodily fluids, things like that, please don't read this. But if you're okay with that, you will probably eat this up the way that I did. So yeah, not possessed, that's infected hairs, glowing mushrooms, and then it like literally the infection like eats away at your body and like makes you almost possessed, I guess. But anyways, I loved the characters. I loved the story. The second book, What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher, is another novella. I do not own it. I am waiting for the paperback because this is paperback and they have to match. They just have to match. So anyways, I loved this. This became my personality for a week and I was like, I'm a horror girly, ooh, but you know, I am. It's true. Okay, and then last but not least, drum roll. That was really cheesy, I'm sorry. Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. This is the first and only Mary Kubica book I've ever read, and I am like literally scared to read her other books because I'm afraid I won't love them as much as I love this one. You guys, this book is so good. So good. And I don't even know what else to say about it. It's messed up, okay? Missing women, lying husbands. Okay, there is a cheating trope in here, but it did actually add to the story, so that made it okay. But if it's like a romance book where the girl's like, he cheated on me, don't care. Move along. But I also don't really like read romance, so you know, it just has to be done right. And in here, it was done right. Lots of lies, lots of investigative, thrillery. Oh my God, what's gonna happen? There's a midwife or a doula, I think is what she actually is. I don't know, maybe that's the same thing, but anyways, twisty turny. Every time someone reads this and I see them post about it on Instagram, I'm immediately like in their DMs like, oh my God, tell me all your thoughts, because this was so freaking good. And all the things I just said about it, do I really nitpick, remember everything about it? Nope. But it was a 5-star when I read it at the time. I mean, the foreword is, I think, a page and a half. The prologue is what it's called in this book. The prologue. Okay. 11 years before. Okay. The prologue is literally 1, 2, 3 pages. And I was like, the whole 3 pages of the foreword. And then I flew through it. I just could not put it down. It's about 350 pages, so it's not super long. But I like literally could not get enough of this book. And I have other Mary Kubica books. And like I said, I'm just so scared to read them because I'm afraid they're not going to live up to Local Woman Missing, which is 5 stars. Ooh, Do I own The Drowning Woman? I don't think I do. That was another one of my book club picks. The Drowning Woman by Robin Harding. Loved that. Oh my God. Loved it. That one was like a twist within a twist. Like you think you know what's happening and then it's like, guess what? You thought wrong. So anyways, these are the books. These are the books. Oh my gosh, one more. These are the books that I love and recommend in the thriller and horror genre. And if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. And if you have read any of these, or if you have any recommendations for someone who likes thrillers and horrors, please leave them below. I will be looking at all the comments, like all 5 of them that I'm sure I'll get. Gotta start somewhere. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, drop your favorite thriller or horror book for myself and for others. And if you've read any of these, let me know what your thoughts were. And have a good rest of your night.